This week, Google, despite pulling some of its businesses out of China 7 years ago amid claims of censorship and hacking, opened a center devoted to artificial intelligence in Beijing. And Google's only the latest tech giant to open up shop in China. Microsoft, IBM, and many other companies are already there, lured by massive funding for artificial intelligence from the communist regime. Artificial intelligence is one of the ways that China hopes to achieve military, economic, and cultural world domination. They call it their Made in China 2025 plan. On a previous Swamp Watch on this topic, I said that American companies helping the Chinese to do this are committing economic treason. I say it's well past time that CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, by the way, that's the crowd that was involved in the Uranium One thing you've heard about, takes a much tougher line on all of this. There is one congressman who agrees with me, Republican Robert Pittenger of North Carolina, who introduced a bill to strengthen CFIUS. He joins me tonight, but before I bring in the congressman, I just wanted to point out that we did reach out to Google to participate in this discussion, and they didn't want to do that. And also, that my wife was previously a senior executive there. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good to be with you, Steve.
And thank you so much. More importantly, thank you for really pushing on this issue. Now, I do understand that your bill is more about Chinese companies investing here in America, not so much about our companies doing things over there. So first of all, I just wanted you to explain what your bill does, and then perhaps we can talk about the Google example. But just set out what your bill would do.
Yes, sir. We are very concerned about foreign investments in the United States, and particularly in the case of China. President Xi made it very clear in his economic message and statement for 2015 their interest to acquire cyber security related companies as well as technology companies. So he's made his intent clear to us. To that end, since 2014, they've acquired 43 semiconductor companies, 20 of which have been in the United States. Chinese investments in the U.S. since 2010 have gone from around $4.5 billion to $46 billion last year, and they're targeting our military security-related technology. These are companies that have a supply chain effect with our Department of Defense. So we want to have greater oversight with CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investments in the U.S. CFIUS was established by President Ford in the mid-1970s, and since that time it hasn't had much in terms of reform. So Senator Cornyn and I have written this bill, similar bills in each house, supported by Secretary Mnuchin, who has been a key part of writing this bill. And frankly, he sent out a tweet this week endorsing it. Senator Burr, Chairman of Intelligence Committee, Ms. Feinstein, along with Congressman Nunes in the House, the Chairman of our Intelligence Committee, are also part of this bill.
Well, I appreciate that. That's good news. I wanted to ask you to comment on this Google story. As I said, it's slightly different in that it's a company over there, but come off it. You know, we all know that an artificial intelligence center in Beijing run by Google, the Chinese government are going to be taking all the intellectual property and all the technology from that and using it for their own ends. Don't you think we should be concerned about that? What do you think about that?
Well, the Chinese are very strategic. Frankly, they send their young people over here to our universities to learn from us, then they go back home. They hear from our best and brightest professors in the areas of technology. These are all serious concerns. My focus, as I said, has been on the acquisition of American companies like Lenovo or ZTE or others. ZTE, we just had fined $1 billion for selling technology to North Korea and Iran. I am concerned about companies like that because there's no free and fair market over there. Any company in China is going to have enormous amount of control and influence and oversight by the Chinese government.
That's right. It's exactly right. Well, as I say, I really appreciate you taking a close look at this, and I hope you can really keep an eye on it in the years ahead, because this is a key part of the Chinese government's overall strategy, as I said, for world domination. This is not just commercial stuff anymore. It's much more serious than that. It's about our national security.
Everything that deals with our defense systems, our military, all of this technology related, the Chinese are targeting, and we've got to prevent this.
Well, thank you so much. Couldn't agree more, and appreciate you being with us tonight.
Good.
thank you to the congressman. I think that what he's doing there is really important. Ruben, are you concerned about this, the way that China's sort of flexing its muscles in all these areas that used to be dominated by America?
Yes, and also we should be concerned with China in Latin America, the investment it makes there, in Mexico and other Latin American countries. We should be concerned with China's grand plan. But, you know, Americans are confused about China because on the one hand, and it starts with our president. Our president, President Trump, ran against China to some degree when he was running for president. He's become very friendly to China because China has three things he likes: power, strength, and money. Those are things he respects and likes. But on the other hand, you and I and others sense that we have a predatory nation that's untrustworthy and that's dangerous. Americans have to sort that out. It's a billion-dollar trade market. It's not easy to ignore it. So we're confused about China.
It's bigger than that, I think.
We're confused about China. We haven't made up our minds as Americans because there's some things about China we find very attractive, other things we find frightening.
Do you agree, Katie, that they're a threat?
Absolutely. I can guarantee, you know, Google had originally pulled out of China because they oppressed their people, free speech, free liberties. And now they're going back, and I guarantee that China is going to take whatever AI they come up with, whatever tech, they are going to get access to that and use it as a way to further oppress their people.
There you go.
And anyone who says otherwise is just lying through their teeth.
Thank you so much for putting it so pithily and correctly, in my view. Kevin, last word to you very quickly.
Ni hao.
Very nice. You know.
Look, I was over in China for a bit of time and know exactly what everybody's talking about. They do steal. I think Trump will have an interesting play with them. Our economy will be used against China. If you want to get to the U.S. market, you better play more fair. That said, to everybody's point, Google's running a big risk. They've got a thriving company, and the Chinese are looking to get their grips
Exactly right.
on this.
Exactly
so,
right.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting play.
Yeah, well, I agree. Well, I think that's a nice note to end it on. Thank you so very much, all of you.
Thank you.
Next,